This curriculum includes several project files which are included in a .zip archive. Once you download that, you can extract it to get a project files folder, and here's how they're organized for the purposes of this course. They're organized into several folders depending on what software we're using. The first folder that you'll be using is the Blender folder. If you're following along, the Blender folder contains a .blend file for every single video in the curriculum, depending on where you're starting. They are labeled with the section number, followed by the video number, and then a brief description of which video it corresponds with. So if you were to follow along and you wanted to start from the 4th video in the 2nd section, then you would want to open up section 2, video 4, creating guard p3_start. That means that this file is exactly the file that I am using at the very start of that particular video. The next Blender file down the line would be the start of the following video or the end of the previous video. And as I mentioned, there is one of these for every single video. In addition to the Blender files, there are also several exported 3D files. These are organized based on which software they were intended to go to. Most of them are in the 4xnormal folder. If we go in there, these are the 3.obj files that we will be exporting in order to bake our normal maps out in xnormal. So if you wanted to follow along with just the xnormal lecture, then you would need these 3 files. In addition to that, we have an OBJ file for texturing purposes that is intended to go into 3D Coat, and we have an FBX file that was exported with the intention of being brought directly into Unity. After that, once we get to the texturing phase, we also have several 3D Coat files, one for each video. These are .3b files, and much like the Blender files, they follow the same naming convention. Also in the Images folder, we have the reference image that we'll be using for the sword in Blender. And then under the Textures folder, these are the final 3 textures exported out of 3D Coat at the end of the curriculum, as well as the base normal map exported out of xnormal. There's also a file in here called dentmold.tiff. This is a custom brush alpha that we use later on in the texturing portion of this curriculum. If you want to use the exact same brush alpha for your project, you can import this into 3D Coat. If you're following the course along from the very beginning, it is not necessary to use any of these files, as every single one of them was created during the course. But if you want to start the curriculum from a specific point, or if you just want to learn a specific tool or technique, then these project files allow you to follow along with the curriculum from any starting point.